Right, okay, sorry about that, everybody. My name's SteveBenn. When Simon asked, I don't know how many of you were actually aware of me. Either stood here physically or more generally. Now, firstly, just to steal some credibility, could everybody just say a big thank you to Simon and everybody who's spoken already, because it's been an absolutely fantastic event so far. I don't know, for me, I think in the UK we kind of lack events like this. There's not sort of a huge amount of pitching, there's just some great quality content. Amazing chances to meet people. I've spoken to a lot of you, maybe some of you just for a few minutes. I don't know if you haven't got round. There are just so many great people here. And I really just enjoyed networking with people. It's been absolutely fantastic. Now today I'm going to be talking about offline, but before I begin that, I just want to talk about a phrase everybody's using. Internet marketer, okay? And I kind of feel like maybe that's more suitable for like the mid-90s. It's probably the most controversial thing I'll say today. And the reason for this is, when you're talking to somebody, do they say to you, oh, I'm going to go home and I'm going to go on the internet and buy a book off Amazon? Or do they just say, I'm going to go on Amazon and buy that book or DVD? People generally don't refer now as much. It's kind of more normal for them to shop on the internet, to get their mail on the internet. They don't say, I'm going to go home, go onto the internet and connect to my Gmail or my email or go on Yahoo. They just say, oh, I'll go on Yahoo, I'll Google it. But for some reason, we're still referring to ourselves as internet marketers. What you're doing is just as legitimate as any other form of marketing. And a lot of sort of traditional marketing agencies now are doing all this internet stuff, but they've not rebranded themselves as internet marketers. They'll say we're an internet marketing agency. They sometimes say digital. But normally now, a lot of these companies that are doing sort of really a lot of business with local businesses, with corporates, they just call themselves a marketing agency or a digital agency. Nobody's saying internet. And I think it can kind of almost, it can throw people off to what you do. Could I just get a raise of hands here? Who's interested in doing offline marketing, if you know what it is? Who's already doing it? Okay, so there's a good percentage of you. For the rest of you, I hope you get something useful out of this, because what I kind of do is I take a lot of the things that I pick up from one area and I move it to another. So stuff I learn online, I'll put offline, and strategies that work offline will end up becoming marketing products. That's pretty much what goes on with me. So we kind of got this out of the way. We can actually begin the presentation. And basically, this is kind of behind the scenes look at running your own consulting business. And that was the normal title, okay? Because the actual real title of this is basically why a total Audi TT actually sent me on a business trip to Iceland with a guy over there who's called PG Tips. Some of you might have heard him be mentioned before. And he's there with Eddie James, who, well, his first name's really James. So they're over there. These are two of the most successful guys I know. I've been friends with them since sort of the mid-2000s. They're incredibly successful. Both work sort of in the internet sphere and sort of the real world as well, bringing the two together. And it's really great to have people like that to network with. So if you've got people near you that you can network with, I really do suggest trying to build up some friendships there. So, a bit about me. I started off in Huddersfield in a shared office. And this was sort of like 2005, 2006. And basically, I just left the corporate world, okay? I'd basically been doing corporate troubleshooting. I decided to start my own business. I kind of had enough. I just, thought, this isn't for me. I can do a lot better. I can take my services kind of outside. And that's what I did. And like I say, I met these two guys. We shared an office with another company, which I'll mention later. And basically, we'll get to do cool stuff like this. So this is a picture of the whiteboard yesterday, working out a new sort of product launch. So as I said, you kind of got consulting clients, because I class myself doing two different types of offline business. Offline marketing, where I'm dealing with sort of the general day-to-day stuff, and then I've got my higher ticket local clients, and also some corporate ones as well. And basically what I try and do is, everybody I'm offering things like SEO services to, I try and actually just start selling them other marketing services. Pricing strategies, email strategies. You all know, I promise you, so much here that you can use and that you can actually offer to somebody. And even if you particularly want to work online, there's probably somebody in your community or your family that you can actually help out and get a good reputation for yourself. Start building a little bit of presence. And actually, you're actually I get invited to a lot of events, a lot of openings and things, just because I've helped somebody out, and then they've actually done well. And not every startup business does well, but if you're generally active in your community, people are going to love, I can guarantee you, everybody here, you'll have something to share that could help a business near you. So I think that's sort of really important. So I'll just move on to some sort of random pointless pictures, because I always like to include them. and it's not actually clear enough to see what that is in that photo. I'll not bring it up, but anyway, that's kind of me with the guys, and also doing tutorial video there with Judith. And so basically what I want to do is just start off, talk about how you can get started in offline. Those of you already in offline, there are a fair number of things I'll be showing you about how you can make more money, and also perhaps something think that you shouldn't. So who here is already kind of selling any sort of product to somebody maybe offline, some sort of service, local business? Any of you actively doing that? So I'll pick somebody, I'll pick Giovanna at the back. What sort of thing are you doing? Yeah, so that's really hot right now, isn't it? Everybody's getting into mobile sites. There are lots of other opportunities as well. There are so many opportunities out there, so many different types of services you can offer. I actually personally can't offer them all. I mean, one of the sort of opportunities I spotted was like Bluetooth marketing. That's kind of changed now. And SMS has kind of replaced it. And in smaller towns, like Bluetooth still works because people have got older phones. They're not kind of these kind of smartphone that doesn't work so well with the Bluetooth. So you'll find in different locations where you live, it could be slightly different. So like I say, you need to look at in your area who's actually selling product, okay? And who's selling high value products. You don't want to be going after sort of businesses that you think might be really struggling. I've found some just very hard to sell to. But you can find local businesses that look like they're going to break out and do well, or they're selling quite expensive products. You can actually get potential if you're growing something quite big. And also as well, think about who you use in your area. So like I'm a big fan of quite a lot of local businesses in my area. I love a restaurant called Pinchy Pinchy. It's a Mexican restaurant. For those of you who know anything about Spanish, that's a little bit rude, but basically there's just a lot of opportunities there. But what I always do is avoid the penny pinchers. It's bad for your self-esteem. You don't get paid. Now, if we've got time, I'll tell you some absolutely horrific stories of things that have gone wrong for me and how I've lost a lot of money. So yeah, basically, there are going to be companies near you that are worth millions. And this doesn't show up on here, but we used to share an office with a company called Taste London, if any of you have heard of them. And it's a restaurant discount card. They started off in London, it's actually now all over the country. These guys now are worth millions. And there was a point where we might have had a chance to do a deal with them, but the sort of way they developed their website, we didn't do it in .NET rather than PHP. So we couldn't help them. But somebody else got those deals. This was a business just starting up in a shared office. So there's really a huge amount of potential there. If you can locate business sort of centers, incubators, any sort of startup thing in your local area, it's going to actually help you connect with people. Not all of them will turn out to be clients, but you'll get recommendations. In terms of high-end, I'm talking particularly about sort of boutiques, and particularly in somewhere like Manchester, you can have some high-end shops in some of the wealthier areas that are basically still crying out for marketing. A great way I've found to locate these kind of businesses is looking at sort of, what's sort of being tweeted about in the local area. You'll get lots of things like restaurant reviews, new bar reviews, people trying to build up, sort of a little bit of a buzz. It's like, say, boutiques, bars, delis, things like that. Generally, and restaurants, obviously, they usually can afford a little bit more than maybe a local hardware store. It's got really tight margins. So, kind of now, what can you sell? Well, first thing I want to say is, I think trust is down. Because I don't know how many of you have ever actually tried to call a business and sell SEO services. What you'll find is they get called all the time now from companies all over the world that can barely string a sentence together, and people get ripped off. And even those ones who did get services, what I found is like sort of a pub just outside Leeds. He got an SEO guy on board who'd done fantastic getting in, all these backlinks and making part of link farms. And of course, then we had all the Google slaps, didn't we? And now he's absolutely nowhere. He's gone from page one, and basically he's really, really struggling. That SEO guy's nowhere to be seen. Now, we all try strategies and they don't work. But this guy, he didn't repair what he did. I suspect there are a lot of people out there right now, because of all the Google changes, a lot of businesses who are suffering because their SEO guy has just disappeared. He's just said, yeah, I'm too busy, I can't help you. I can't get this done for you. He's not even answering the phone because he knows that some of those link farms, things like that, not working out. So there's a real opportunity to actually get in there. But the trust for people doing offline marketing, it's really gone down by sort of all of these cold calls. I mean, I've had them. It's getting to the point where it's getting like 1 or 2 a day. Somebody saying, oh, do you want SEO services? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want PPC? And it's like, it's kind of, they're not even sometimes trying to build up a rapport. There was one guy who called on Skype, and his credit actually ran out. So he was calling on Skype, and before he finished his pitch, it ran out. So can you quickly call me back? He didn't actually even give me his number. I wouldn't take him up on it anyway, but that's not going to get you any sort of business because you're not getting the trust. So particularly some of the sort of more spammy tactics have really caused a lot of problems. So SEO, particularly the troubles with Google Snaps, that's a great opportunity to get started. If you've got sort of web software, you've got desktop software, you've got services you can offer to help people, it's a great opportunity to get started. You don't have to just be going in and saying, I can get you X number of backlinks. You can go in and be the hero and repair things that haven't gone right. And right or wrongly, there'll be a lot of people as well who aren't suffering, who are just scared. A lot of business owners who don't quite get what's going on, and they're just going to be scared about what's going on out there with SEO, and they're going to disappear from Google. Think about how many businesses have gone to Groupon and sites like that recently. Almost every business I meet now is using Living Social or Groupon. And I was at a wine tasting last week, and the guy's using Living Social. He's not even scanning in the vouchers with his phone. I don't know what he was thinking. He just literally wasn't. My own plumber told me that he's using Groupon to sell vouchers. He never even scans them in. There are so many people just not sort of taking up with social. They're getting people in, but they're not even actually claiming the money, which I find a little bit strange. It's because a lot of people, they don't know what's going on. So the first thing I'd say is build up your portfolio. And I always recommend, if you've not got any experience, start helping out charities. Local sort of organisations, SEO. There are sort of a lot of things out there. Maybe it's a church group for some of you. Maybe it's just sort of a local community centre. Put up something free for the local businesses. You've got opportunities like that. Just something to get your name out there and get trust. Because then you're not going to be that anonymous guy on the phone. And that's kind of, I think, what really concerns me. I'm sure, and we've got Chris Munch on later, I'm sure he'll talk a lot about how SEO has changed and he'll give you some really fantastic info. But as we know, there's kind of this whole thing now like trust rank. I almost feel like there should be a real world trust rank for SEO people, offline people, because it's really getting hard to get trust now. That's the big thing. The more trust you can get, it's going to basically be proportional to the kind of income that you can get. And that's just because, there was this big mad rush, wasn't there, to get into sort of offering backlinks, offering SEO. I've seen a lot of sites where they've just got the keyword stuff installed at the bottom, it's like repeated, massive menu links. And after Penguin and Panda having these unwieldy menu structures, which is only there to gain search results, it's going to cause problems. So that's something else, that's out there, it needs to be sorted. I can tell you, a lot of business owners won't understand what's going on. They want to get on with their business, whether that's selling deli products, selling, garden furniture, maybe it's just actually running events, maybe it's doing PR. That's what they want to get on with. They don't want to deal with this. But anybody in this room can probably deal with at least one problem that they're having. What I'd like to suggest is, once you start doing that, consider upgrading to what I call being a marketing consultant. You can spend a long time doing things like SEO, backlinks, even doing like video creation, getting automated by outsourcers. But the real money isn't doing that in bulk. It's actually becoming a trusted advisor. If you can actually get on board and actually help them out with some of the structural problems in the business, things like pricing, getting repeat business, creating little business communities. Like, some of the places I actually work in, the business owners don't talk to each other in an area. One of the things that helps is, just actually having cards and promos. You come here on a Thursday night, you can go eat at this restaurant for 10% off. Here's a discount card. But getting the business owners to talk, some areas they already do. Some areas they're not talking, and actually getting them to network. There's something you can charge for actually bringing people together and putting these relationships in place. So I guess basically what I'm saying is, if you actually serve them, well, you're going to sell if they trust you. So I'd like to give you a quick example now. Who's heard of Cristal? The champagne. Anybody tried it here? Yeah. How much would you expect to pay for a bottle of Cristal?
In a restaurant, 500 quid.
Yeah.
Off license, so 195, 150.
Yeah. Restaurants, ridiculously expensive, aren't they, with us? And I'm not particularly any sort of connoisseur, but I was talking to a guy who's apparently, one of my clients, he's a wine sommelier, I think, and he's on the panel for the Sommelier Awards or something. I really know very little about wine, as you can tell. But anyway, he personally does not like Cristal. He sells it in his bar. He doesn't like it. He thinks there are much better champagnes out there. And because of his own personal preferences on taste, he refuses to charge the sort of standard price you get in sort of a sort of a bar type situation, or restaurant type situation, but they've got overheads. And so basically he was selling it at £180 per bottle of Cristal. 6 months, he didn't sell a single bottle of Cristal. So, I kind of started talking about it. So I said, look, Andy, you just need to raise your price. Restaurants, bars, they're selling for £400 to £600. Now, I agree with him, but the reputation of it is probably more to do with marketing than the actual taste. And I understand that he's not personally happy with it. People want to buy it. Last month, he sold 7 bottles. Not a massive profit. But basically, I got him to raise his price to £2.20. That's as far as I could get him, by the way. He would not go above that because he said it was immoral to sell that champagne for more than that. I've never drunk it, I've got no sort of opinion. But I know that people buy things like Cristal to make an impression on a significant other. Maybe a business partner, maybe they're on a date, maybe it's their wife. Maybe it's a group of friends. They've got a big business deal. You know, if somebody goes, oh, do you know what, you can get this Cristal for £50. Well, if their friends see them, it's kind of looking maybe a little bit cheap, and they want to make that impression. And as a business owner, his own personal taste, and he's very sophisticated, is getting in the way of what his customers actually want. If somebody's got a sort of a big business deal or a bonus at work, or maybe they've had a small lottery win, they want to buy the Cristal because they see it on TV and it's got associations with it. They might not be bothered that it's not, you know, the best sort of tasting alcohol out there. Plenty of us buy drinks we don't always really like the taste of. You know, we buy alcoholic drinks that, you know, maybe it's not the best. So I just got a picture here which is literally to tell me that I'm halfway through, and it's a nice shot of the print works there. So hopefully, at this point you can see how business owners can kind of get in their own way because their own taste, they become passionate about the products. What you never want is a business owner who doesn't care about what they're doing. You know, that I guess you can kind of try to pull them back and get them reinvigorated about their business. But there are an awful lot of people out there who start hating their businesses. And I'm going to say once it gets to a certain point, no amount of marketing is going to pull them backward, and it's going to make you miserable as well. So I'm saying in those situations, kind of leave the money on the table. If you can, if you get the feeling that they're really bitter about their business, kind of don't get yourself involved. I've done that and it's not pleasant. So now we'll talk a little bit how you can get the really big deals. So getting small deals first. Big corporates, okay, they're contract tail work. I'm just going to tell you a story now without sort of naming anything. But basically there's one of these websites out there does, you know, sort of the supermarket comparisons, you know, on the prices. It was actually started by 2 guys who worked at a big supermarket. And so they actually got a bit of funding from the supermarket to start it. They didn't make the site, they had the idea. It was then outsourced to an agency in London. And then it actually came back to a local web design agency, which was just across the corridor from me. And so it basically gone through this giant loop, and it really inflates the price, by the way. This is how you can undercut a lot of sort of big sort of websites if you get to this level. And what would they do? It was just a mini site, basically, it started off with. It's grown now. It's quite a big sort of comparison site. But there were loads of little local agencies involved in the end, in the design, the web design, putting things together, the graphics. It wouldn't have been too hard to get one of those deals. And that's how I started off. I started off doing just like very small things for companies. Getting in and just saying, you know, can I do this for you? Can I help you with this internal comms thing? Sometimes, and particularly with retailers, I have to wait 90 days after I've done the work to get paid. And you know, that's if I'm lucky. But I know it's worth it because I get the bigger deals. So another sort of example of a small one, working with a little bakery, which was thanks to PG Tips. We ended up actually hand-holding the client and going to an ASDA supplier day, which is talking all about how they improve their supply chain. And that, you know, opens up a whole new world of connections. And it was all because we said, yeah, you know, we'll go the extra mile. We'll help you. We see you wanting to grow your business. So being a small cog, don't sort of underestimate it. But you do need to actively be thinking, how can I start offering better services? Now, this is kind of the really horrible part of the presentation. Horrible mistakes I've made. So after this, none of you will want to speak to me. You really won't, because they're like, oh, how can you do that, Steve? So first things, I won't work with clients who ask about revenue or staff size. I've had this a few times. Somebody will call up and want to pay an awful lot of money. I know both Eddie and PG Tips have experienced this. You'll be there and you'll be saying, yeah, we can do this, you can do that, you can sense there's something kind of underlying. And they start saying, so, do you work from home? And, yeah, maybe that's a reasonable question. And then, how many staff do you have? And then it's like, well, what was your revenue last year? And when you're getting objections like this, it's either because your presentation or pictures really failed, or sometimes you've got somebody who wants to squeeze you on price. They're basically wanting to put you on the back foot, make you feel uncomfortable about yourself, because their point is they're not really worried. They've already looked into it. If they were that diligent, they've probably done the work already. You know, you can go on like all these companies' house websites and check people's accounts out. They've probably already done that. What they're trying to do is make you feel uncomfortable, on the back foot, and they'll say, do you know what, I'll give you 60%. Or you start today, and you know, we'll pay you in a month if we're happy. Those kind of deals, okay, they very rarely work out. And there might be points where you really want to go for and you think, I could provide this complete web suite, or I could take over doing this sort of businesses, Twitter and Facebook, or as we once got asked to print out a load of flyers. We never have got paid for that. Quick example for you. We used to work with a design company who would pass work our way because they couldn't do some of the back-end marketing and development stuff. So we're doing all this work for them, and they say, hey, we've got a client, he's got a lot of money, he can start now, he's got a website that basically he needs a lot of traffic to. Can you get the traffic? So I spoke to him, we sent him an email contract, he's happy to go ahead. He wants 50,000 visitors a month. Okay, so for 2 months, using PPC, we're sending him 50,000 visitors. It wasn't the best quality, but it's costing us £2,000 a month just to supply that traffic. So our bill was going to be significantly higher than that. But you know, the guy had an outrageous sort of yellow Lamborghini, we assumed he could afford it. And it turned out he really could afford this. But at the end, when he's not paid his invoice, after a month he said, you know, could you do some more flyers for me now? And then could we start doubling the traffic maybe? And we basically said, well, you need to pay your invoice first. And suddenly we stopped hearing from him. And it wasn't long after this that he sold the business for an awful, awful lot of money and disappeared. And I strongly suspect that was based on the traffic that we helped send, because it was pay-per-click. This wasn't natural traffic. What we shouldn't have done is we shouldn't have agreed to go ahead. We shouldn't have given him that extra month to pay. He had the cash. So we really kind of walked into that one. And I've had other businesses where doing pay-per-click campaign for them, we actually managed to quadruple somebody's profits. We halved his costs as well. We also halved his traffic, but we radically increased his conversion rate. We did that by looking at the products that actually sold best with the most profit. Because sometimes somebody will say, this sells really well, but I'm making like a couple of pounds on it. Find the one that sells best with the most sort of profit there, and actually make that the focus of their e-commerce website. Don't make it the one that's really the hot seller, but they're only getting £3 profit on. Find the one that's 30, 40, 50. Because they've all got products like that, and a lot of sort of online e-commerce stores, they've all got products that actually bring far more profit. But they ignore it for the ones that are popular, when the actual total revenue is way, way big on something else. So we pulled in this pay-per-click traffic, and we halved the sort of the amount we were sending to him versus the previous people he'd been working with. We got him a 4 times increase on his revenue. He actually called up at the end of the month, incredibly angry with me, shouting down the phone saying, why is my traffic halved? He didn't know the difference, I assume, between pay-per-click traffic and search traffic. And I don't think ego-wise he cared. He just wanted the volume. He wasn't even interested in the sales. So again, that was an example of maybe working with somebody who became very bitter in his business. It becomes some sort of weird ego trip then, and sort of 4 times increase in revenue from the online sales, not sort of his retail location. He wasn't happy with. We put in, on the items, we put in little model numbers, because a lot of his business comes from other retailers. He's actually selling business to business as well as to clients. So we put those in, because when a sort of a retailer is searching for a model number, they're not searching for a product name. 2 days later, he's unhappy with that, he removes it. We alter the menu structure to make it a little bit clearer. He ends up removing that. Some clients are never going to be happy. Get out of those situations as quickly as possible. Okay? You've got to really consider how you feel inside. If you can keep your mood up, that's going to help you generate a lot more money than having somebody sort of on the phone at you for half an hour. That ruined my day. In fact, it's probably ruined my week. We eventually got paid out on that one, but I didn't want to continue with it just because it was really depressing. You're doing your job and somebody's not happy. Now this is an important one. Fixed prices. I don't give discounts on any of the services I sell apart from an early settlement discount. So if they pay a week or 2 early on their invoice, then they get a discount. That's really the only point. And that's just basically to stop people paying late. Once you give somebody a discount, I found, and I think this counts as much in online as well as offline, if you don't really justify it, well, many of us don't, it's like, dime sales. Look at dime sales. It's like, a lot of people put dime sales down as the price is going to go up, and then people get angry. I prefer to say it's actually reducing discount. It's a small reframe. But otherwise you get people complaining, why is the price going up? Instead say it's a reducing discount. And I'll be honest on a sales page, and I'll say, the reason that it's so cheap is to generate buzz. Nobody's offended by that, because the reason. If you can't justify a discount very, very well, I think it's best just to kind of not do it. It's not going to do any favours. Once you give that discount, I promise you they'll be looking for a second discount and a third discount, and then they'll be like, well, I can't pay this month, or can you do this extra work? So they pay the same amount, but they want extra work doing. Like in the case of these flyers, or once I was working on marketing a website that basically did home rentals in Yorkshire, and you know, they basically got to the stage where each month they cut down my contract and say, well, what can we have for this? What can we have for that? Every month they would cut it down. They would think nothing of spending massive amounts of money to get into things like Yale. I don't know if any of you guys know, there was some Rightmove. They were actually paying an awful lot of money to get a feed off Rightmove. Their marketing, they weren't interested in. Every month they tried to squeeze me. Until it got down to where they said they pay me £60 for 4 days a month. And at that point I was like, look guys, I really, really like you, but this has kind of got to stop. So if any of you are in that situation, it's best just to kind of stop it straight away. So next thing, inflammatory, pointless headline there, I'm closing down. Well, not really. I'm stopping doing web design. Come the end of May, I'm not taking on any more web clients. I'm not saying to any of you, stop doing web design, stop doing SEO. What I am saying is, unless you're really passionate about it, once you can start selling those high-level services, move on to that. You can't end up doing everything. Even if you get VAs, even if you get people on Odesk, even if you get staff, mentally it's really hard to be selling something that's £100 a month to somebody and then asking for £1,000 a month. At least for me, it just becomes too difficult. So, quick sort of little anecdote for you. I guess everybody remembers the riots. Everything kind of went crazy. Those of you not from the UK, we had riots in sort of all the major cities in Manchester, Birmingham, London. People were raiding shops. Now I've got a friend who's he's pretty high up in a very sophisticated department stores across the country. They sell pretty expensive products. I like their own brand. It's pretty darn good. Even their tertiary labels. Tertiary labels, by the way, are the ones that they actually sell cheap, but they don't make it look like their own brand because they don't want to devalue it. None of that stuff was stolen, okay? It was all the branded stuff like the Levi jeans, what's it called? I'm trying to think. Fire Trap, all that kind of stuff. That's what went. All of their really high quality own brand stuff didn't really get touched. And looking at these sort of security footage, nobody was actually taking this stuff. It's absolutely bizarre. I think this just tells you an awful lot, and the Cristal thing as well, how people, both customers and business owners, can be really led down a path where they're not actually getting genuine value. They've got interests such as ego, getting in the traffic. That's all they care about. They're not so bothered about conversions. They've got enough money at the end of the month. They're fine. Customers who, unless branded products are at the right price, they'll think it's too good to be true and they'll walk away. There are probably lots of businesses that you can help with issues like this. So just to kind of summarise my pricing, it's always a monthly rental model. I never take cash up front, because what you'll always get is, Steve, that didn't quite work how we hoped, or Steve, can we make an adjustment? And if you charged a one-off fee, you've then got to send out another invoice, and then they're going to be arguing about the price. If they've got a fixed amount that they pay you every month, and notice that I'm talking about a rental model there, you want to be careful, particularly in the UK, about actually doing pricing where you're saying, look, you're buying it, but you're paying over X number of months, because then you're getting into the situation, I become a creditor. You're essentially a lender then, you're lending money to somebody, and then there are issues with interest, and you go over a certain amount, get yourself into legal difficulties. My key would be build relationships first with somebody, get them onto a monthly rental model, then start actually moving them up away from the website, unless you really love doing it. And I was talking to some guys yesterday who, they're just purely about Magento, and that's cool. But if you wanted to make more money, get into the consulting side. Once somebody's got your trust, and you've actually shown results, even if it's just with SEO, going to be much more likely to go ahead with you. Now, I'd just like to give you a really weird example of an offline service I discovered somebody doing. I was actually going to a supermarket for a meeting because I basically come up with this web service that was for basically doing PR to try and figure out whether you're getting buzz on the internet. This is quite a lot of years ago. Whilst I'm sat there, there's a guy in his 60s next to me, just dressed very casually, and I was waiting for my meeting, so I asked what he did. And he said he did monitoring for supermarkets. He lived in a semi-detached house and did it in his back garden. Oh, sorry, not back bedroom. Maybe he did do it in his back garden. And all he did was he went through the web, he set up Google Alerts. He was charging them £1,000 a month to compile it into a PDF. And they were absolutely over the moon about us. And then he told me he started doing it for smaller businesses as well, more local chains, like where it's like 2 or 3 in smaller shops. And he wasn't doing it in a very efficient way, but he was actually making quite a lot of money. I doubt his £1,000 deal with the supermarket would fly anymore. Things have moved on a lot since then. What I'm saying is there are lots of little things that you can offer. And this really is kind of the beginning of reputation management, which is absolutely huge now. If you can help local businesses manage their reputation, they get bad reviews on something, like Google, Places, YouTube. I think it's inevitably going to get crazy comments on YouTube. I guess we've all seen that. There are so many places now where people can leave bad comments. TripAdvisor. Every time I go to a hotel, people are paranoid and scared about TripAdvisor. One guy had a sign outside, actually little hotel in a place called Esbeck near Whitby. He basically had a really bad review outside, which said basically, I had their beef brisket sandwich, it was the worst thing I ever had, and then I was sick. And they actually put that outside. I'm not sure it worked in a marketing sense, but the chef had just become that frustrated with checking on things like TripAdvisor and other sites and seeing really bad reviews. And as far as I'm aware, they didn't even sell that kind of sandwich. So as I say, PG Tips and Eddie James here, these are the guys that I work with. And basically, we got on the Gadget Show a couple of years ago with one of my products. PG Tips and Eddie James said, look, we're going to get on. I was like, this is not possible. And we actually got on. And the reason I'm saying this is, it's actually, don't think it's out of the realms of possibility that you can get these sort of things happening for your clients. Okay, if they've got something good, look to what the media opportunities are. We've worked with a few Dragon's Den entrants as well, and that's been kind of a mixed results. I found quite a few people have gone to Dragon's Den, they get on TV, they get told their idea is good. It's kind of hard to deal with the ego issues then, even if the actual product is great. I know I told Ian a little bit more than I should probably about that yesterday. So some musts, and the colour of my slides here probably wasn't the best choice. Be prepared to fire clients. And I mean this, for your online stuff and your offline stuff as well. In terms of the coaching things I've done, I usually end up firing 1 or 2 clients from every one of my coaching groups because sometimes it's not right for them. Sometimes they're trouble causers. Sometimes they're trying to do really unethical things. One guy was basically trying to force me to mail out to sell his MLM product. I said no, and he'd come back a couple of months later, and he did the same product. I go, you've got to go back, you do it again and again. So this stuff applies as much to what you're doing online as offline. You'll end up, if you just stick with the sort of people that you can actually work with, you'll be a lot happier. I think you heard Brad talk about this, it's really important. Keeping your mood up. For an extra couple of £100 or whatever, you might really need the cash at the time, but if that's going to depress you for a week, and you get another opportunity to come up, I tell you, you're not going to be ready for it, you're not going to sound upbeat. When somebody's talking to you, they're probably not going to trust you as much, because you've got a little bit of reservation in your voice. You're thinking, how Barry went crazy last week on the phone, started banging it on the table whilst he was talking to you or something. It really doesn't help. So like I say, be the business consultant that your clients are happy to tell their significant others about. This again is really important offline and online. Everybody, when they're buying an expensive product or service, business or whatever, let's say you're selling products on how to do eBay shops, or you're selling something on how to improve restaurant marketing. They pay a lot. They're going to have to tell their significant others. That could be their boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, best friend, co-workers. If they feel embarrassed about telling somebody about it, okay, they're not going to do it. They know they're going to get in trouble. But if you can actually give them things to kind of hand over, maybe like a little brochure, ways to actually communicate that you are sort of legit and can help out, you've got a lot better chance. If you don't deal with that little hidden objection, significant others, friends, partners, this is a big way to these deals. So people say, I can't really afford this, or I haven't really got the time. Sometimes it can be, my wife's going to kill me. Okay? My friends are going to say I'm an idiot to say I can make money off eBay. And really, they just, they don't want their friends to say, get the wrong thing. What they want is to say 3 months later, look how it worked out for me. When you heard about Mark Lyford talking earlier about how he had this deadline, I think it was like 3 months, and he'd give up on the internet stuff. He started making money. And guarantee you, like all of us, he didn't really want to say, honey, this doesn't work out. Go to the pub with his friends. You know what, guys, this didn't work out for me. It's not what anybody wants to say. And that's in the back of a lot of people's minds when they're buying products. Online, offline, it doesn't really make a difference. So like I say, I'm stopping doing web development at the end of May. And I've got quite a sort of varied list of clients, from doing smaller things for corporates to magazine publishers. So one is an anti-terrorism magazine. Another one's a small theatre in London. I've got a few in La Jolla actually. Not Frank Kern for any of you who are thinking that. Actually 2 web design companies. And this is a case of being on the forum. A lot of people go there. You get people who get in touch with you. You also get people locally who will recommend you. One thing I'd say, I'm only just getting into this myself, look at Google Hangouts for doing local mastermind opportunities with businesses. This is something they will pay for, okay? They'll pay for it, but you can also bundle it as well with other services. And socially as well, they don't want to be the person who leaves this. If they join with a load of other business owners, in a small area, they don't want to be the guy who said, I'm not paying $50 a month, I'm not paying £100 a month, I'm leaving. Now if they all leave en masse, you've got problems, you're not offering value. But nobody wants to kind of be left out. I found a lot of local businesses, there's some real sort of rivalries and competitions, and quite friendly with each other. But they also, if they see a lot of people going down to, maybe the bric-a-brac store or the clothing store, and not going in that place, they need a little bit of rivalry with that. And there's always this sort of local gossip about what's going on in the area as well in terms of business. So getting people on Google Hangouts who say we come on once a month, that's great. Have a real meeting as well. But it's the sort of thing that people don't want to leave and it adds value. So I'm kind of coming to the end now. I've just got some generic holiday pictures in there to tell me that. Every year when I do a talk, I like to mention the place I've gone. This is, last year I went to El Dorado Royale, Charisma Hotel. Then basically forced Simon Greenhouse to have his honeymoon there. I hope it actually went well for him. I think it did. And basically I got this through a fantastic company called Blue Bay Travel, just a little pitch in from there. And this year I went to Excellence Riviera Cancun, really beautiful place. Tried to do some work there, got sand in my laptop, stupid idea. So that's the truth of trying to work on the beach for me. Now, in terms of tax, okay, getting yourself to be a limited company, at least in the States I'd be saying getting into business. You can get a sole trader sort of situation set up, but get limited as quickly as you can. Get a chartered accountant, just because they're going to make sure you're not messing up. But don't always assume that the accountant's always working in your best interest. VAT is something I see a lot of people get confused on. Now I'm not an accountant, but it's always well worth reading HMRC's requirements, okay? Because a lot of the times it can be a little bit confusing. Your accountant might want you to get VAT registered, because obviously it's more money for them. And they'll tell you it makes you sort of more professional. But without sort of being VAT registered, I've got deals with companies like Asda, the NHS. It hasn't stopped them working with me. So yeah, I don't. If you are at the revenue level where you need to do it, that's absolutely fine. But don't just go into it for the sake of it. It's not going to hugely improve your credibility with certain types of businesses. Now, tax planning is something I know nothing about, okay, but Eddie James does. And the reason I wanted to tell you this is he actually paid £3,000 for a report that's going to actually help reduce his income tax. That's an info product there. It's like James has shown me it. It's like, it's sort of a 12-page report. It's going to be well worth it for him. That's how much he's paid. He's then to pay $12,000 to actually get it implemented. It's going to be actually worth it for him. Okay? So this is a company who's essentially doing an offline service. This isn't any sort of crazy illegal tax stuff. It's not about wiping out your tax. It's simply about reducing. So it's not any of that stuff you heard about in Panorama. This is an info product. It's actually being sold to businesses, and that's all this company does. So there's huge amounts of opportunity out there. Part of the problem is don't go chasing after everything. You're not going to get it all. Decide on a few things. I don't personally limit myself in terms of the businesses I work with. If people seem enthusiastic and happy, and they're not like ridiculously bitter about their business or got anger issues, then I'm happy to work with them. So I don't know what time we're on, but I think we've got a little time for some questions if you have any I can actually answer. Yeah, Walt?
Yeah, I kind of got out of offline, but I'm interested in reputation management and its uptake.
Yeah.
Is that something that you do?
Do a little bit of it. One thing I didn't mention is, one of the great ways I found to get big deals is, you'll find things like PR companies and marketing companies, they don't want to lose their clients anymore. And their clients are going, well, I need like a flash banner or a pay-per-click banner, or I need reputation management. Now, reputation management is traditionally something a PR company would do, but they're looking to offer other services as well, just like web design agencies and graphic design agencies are. So they're wanting the reputation management side. If that's something you can offer, you can white label your services with them. You'll actually get a higher level of client. I found typically you do start to get connections with them after a little while. Of course, to start with, they want to keep a barrier there. Yet reputation management is something you could, I think, base a whole business on. There are companies out there that do crisis management, reputation management, and that's all they do. And it's really getting into the online sphere now as well. It's PR companies that are kind of doing it, but they don't have the digital expertise. So if you have it, and there's a PR company in your area, it might be worth approaching and saying, look, I can help manage some of those comments and get positive things in. So,
Can I come back to me if there's more questions, because I'd like to know a bit more.
yeah, sure. Yeah. Anybody else? I pretty much put everybody to sleep. That's good. It's just the hangovers, isn't it? That's what I'm going to tell myself. No more questions then? I guess we're going to be ending a little early then, Simon, if that's all right with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is SteveBenn.